Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Big Akbar Ahmed and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be speaking about Shaitan or Satan, Iblis, Lucifer, whatever you want to call him. He is the one that is against humanity and humankind and whispers in the ears of us to try and steer us off the path of God Almighty. This is a very, very important subject to understand, and I know that there are differences between the monotheistic religions on who this creature is and what this creature's job is and what it does and what its initial nature is. So I'm here to go ahead and break down from the Islamic standpoint who this creature is, who is the devil, who is Iblis, who is Shaitan, and we're going to go ahead and understand first why and how he does this and what is the purpose of this, right? Why would a creature go ahead and spend its whole entire eternity knowing that it's going to be punished for it, trying to get us as a collective people for all of human history to go against God Almighty? Why would another creature of God Almighty try and go so hardly against God Almighty, and for what reasons? Now, we believe in Islam as human beings. When we are born, we're born with something called the fitra. It's an instinctive disposition of worshiping God Almighty, worshiping Allah. And no matter if you're a child, no matter if you're, a full-grown adult, you get into a scenario where you're about to die or you're hurt, then there's nothing else to save you. There's no one else there. You're going to turn to God Almighty. That is an instinctive thing. You don't have to learn it. You don't have to be told it. No matter what, no matter who you are, and no matter what place of time, people would go ahead and worship a higher power, especially when they're in a situation where they're about to die or they need help and there's no one else there to help them. Is this fitra, this instinctive positioning, comes out of you and you end up worshiping God Almighty. So the devil, he is there to go ahead and try and kill that instinctive desire to go ahead and worship God, to steer you away, because you have something called free will. All right? Now, in Christianity, they do believe in something called original sin. I'm not sure if all sects of Christianity go ahead and take this concept of original sin and run with it, but they believe that like a child is born with original sin and they're born to go ahead and do these wrong things, and that kind of has to be flushed out of you. Where in Islam, we believe you're born pure, and then as time goes on, you end up sinning. And a sin is something where you are purposely going against the laws of God after you understand them and after you know them, and after you do something, you do it again and you do it again and you do it again. That is a sin, not necessarily like a kid smacking you in the head while you're just sitting there. I think that's pretty much not necessarily a sin, but more of just like an inclination of what happens if I smack this person, because they're a kid, they're learning the world, they're touching things, they're tasting things. It's what they're doing to learn. So after a child learns what it's doing and what the response is and continues to do it, that is what initiates it as a sin, is the intention itself. When, intention is a very important thing, and I talk about intention quite a lot. And God Almighty is going to judge us based on our intention. There are people who do bad things for good intentions, and there are people who do good things for bad intentions. And this is very, very important to understand, because the person that's giving to charity to boost themselves in the media and to give themselves a good image, that's a bad thing. You're going to get judged poorly on that. And, someone might, for instance, pork is a sin. You cannot eat pork. So if I was starving in the middle of, an island, for instance, and the only thing for me to eat was pork, and I ate pork, God Almighty's not going to hold that against me, because the intention is to survive. My intention is to protect the gift God gave me, was my life, first and foremost. So there's a very, very, very fine line between a sin, because your intention means a lot when you do sin. When you're sinning with a intent to sin, with the intent to go against God Almighty, that is where it really, really, really counts against you. And this is something that the devil, Satan, Iblis, is known for. He knows he's going against God Almighty, and he continues to do it with pride. His ego is inflated to the highest level. And this is one of the most important things I want to talk about today, is our ego. Our ego is the thing that holds us back, that destroys us the most, is that ego. And there's nothing that describes Satan more than ego. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into Quran verses to go ahead and better understand what the Quran says about this creature, right? Okay. So, first I want to start at the beginning where God Almighty is talking about the creation and of Adam, okay? So this is the most important thing that's going to go ahead and describe who Satan is and what his initial role is here. And basically, we're going to go ahead and read this. This is chapter 2 of the Holy Quran. 229 is where I'm going to start. He is the one who created everything in the earth for you. Then he turned towards heaven, forming it into the 7 heavens, and he has perfect knowledge of all things. Remember when your Lord said to the angels, I'm going to place a successive human authority on earth. They asked, Allah, will you place in it someone who will spread corruption there and shed blood while we glorify your praises and proclaim your holiness? Allah responded, I know what you do not know. So even the angels, in Islam we don't believe angels have free will. We believe that angels listen to every command that God ordains. Even the angels have their own conscious. Even the angels can question things. But does that mean that the angel can disobey God? No. But can the angel question things? Can the angel think, okay, what's going to happen? Does the angel know everything? No, the angel does not know everything because the angel is not God Almighty. So the angels do question things. So here the angels were asking God Almighty, well, you're going to place something on earth that's going to, cause corruption and bloodshed while we glorify your praises. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty says, I know what you do not know. All right. He taught Adam the names of all things, and he presented them to the angels and said, tell me the names of these if what you say is true. They replied, glory be to you, we have no knowledge except of what you have taught us. You are truly the all-knowing, all-wise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, O Adam, inform them of their names. Then when Adam did, Allah said, did I not tell you that I know the secrets of the heavens and the earth, and I know what you reveal and what you conceal? And remember, when we said to the angels, prostrate before Adam, so they all did, but not Iblis, who refused and acted arrogantly, becoming unfaithful. Okay, so just to pause right here, God Almighty went ahead and asked the angels, tell me the nature of all things, right? Tell me what this is and what this is and what that is and what the earth is and what the plants are. And they couldn't answer. They said, we only know what you have taught us, God Almighty, right? So then he went ahead and asked Adam, right, tell me the nature of all things. And Adam went ahead and spat back the nature of all things. He went ahead and told them all their names, what their purpose is, what they're doing, and whatnot, because God Almighty had gone ahead and programmed Adam to go ahead and answer this question. So the angels went ahead and saw this, and they saw the intelligence of this being and what it was capable of. And then God Almighty told them to go ahead and prostrate before Adam. And all of them did but Iblis. All right? Iblis is Satan. Iblis is the devil. Now, a lot of people think that Iblis is an angel. In Christianity, Lucifer is an angel. And in Islam, Iblis is not an angel. He is a completely different entity, and we will get to that. And you might be asking, well, didn't God just ask the angels to prostrate? And, Iblis didn't prostrate. So if he's not an angel, why does he need to prostrate? And we'll also get to there. But right here, I want to make the distinction that we do not believe in fallen angels. We believe in 3 different entities. We believe in human beings. We believe in angels who are created of light. Okay, we're going to get to the other 2, human beings and Jinn. But angels are created of light and have no free will at all. They're spirits created of light, and they have 0 free will. They have wings and whatnot. They do not have free will. Human beings have free will, and the Jinn do indeed have free will. We caution, O Adam, live with your wife in paradise and eat as freely as you please, but do not approach this tree, or else you will be wrongdoers. But Satan deceived them. leading to their fall from the blissful state you were in. And we said, descend from the heavens to the earth. As enemies to each other, you will find in the earth residence and provisioning for your appointed stay. Then Adam was inspired with the words of prayer by his Lord, so he accepted his repentance. Surely he was the acceptor of repentance, most merciful. We said, descend all of you. Then, when guidance comes to you from me, whoever follows it, there is no fear on them, nor will they grieve. So, what is God saying? Repent. And no matter what happens, repent. It's never too late for you. Adam went ahead and Eve went ahead and went against God Almighty in the garden. Satan had gone ahead and tried to, get in their head, and he had them deceive God Almighty. He tricked them into deceiving God Almighty. And when Adam realized what he had done, all he did was repent. And after he repented and repented and repented, God Almighty went ahead and accepted his repentance. But those who disbelieve and deny our signs will recite it in the fire. They will be there forever. And then it goes on to talking about the children of Israel. Children of Israel, remember my favors upon you, fulfill your covenant and fulfill mine, stand on all alone. Okay. We're not going to go into that. We'll be here for days. We're here to talk about Iblis. Now, I'm going to go to a different verse here, because talking about Iblis and Adam is over. It goes into the children of Israel, and it continues to go on about their covenants and what they did with God. This is chapter 15. Verse 26 is where I'm going to go ahead and start. Indeed, we created man from sounding clay, molded from black mud. As for the jinn, we created them earlier from smokeless fire. So this is very important, that there's an entity called the Jinn that are not angels, that existed before humans. We created them earlier from smokeless fire. So the Jinn is created from smokeless fire, not light like the angels, but smokeless fire. And the human being was molded from clay, from black mud. You see? So these are two completely different entities. Remember, when your Lord said to the angels, I'm going to create a human being from surrounding clay molded from black mud. So when I have fashioned him and had a spirit of my own created, breathed into him, fall down and prostrate to him. So God Almighty blew his spirit into Adam, and Adam came to life. So the angels prostrated all together, but not Iblis. He refused to prostrate with the others. And this is where it's going to go ahead and explain why Iblis is not an angel. And he's a jinn, actually. And that's why the Quran is very, very specific here when it says, as for the jinn, we created them earlier from smokeless fire. To make you understand this. Allah asked, O Iblis, what is the matter with you? Do not join others in prostration. He replied, it is not for me to prostrate to a human you created from sounding clay molded from black mud. Allah commanded, then get out of paradise, for you are truly cursed. And surely upon you is condemnation until the day of judgment. Satan appealed, my Lord, then delay my end until the day of their resurrection. Allah said, you will be delayed until the appointed day. Satan responded, my Lord, for allowing me to stray, I will surely tempt them on earth and mislead them altogether, except your chosen servants among them. Allah said, this is the way binding on me. You will certainly have no authority over my servants except the deviant of who follow you. Hell is their destined place altogether. It has 7 gates. To each group of them is designated. Indeed, the righteous will be amid gardens and springs. It will send them to a place of paradise. And he starts talking about paradise and what happens to the others. So this is basically an extension to what we just read in chapter 2. Here in chapter 15 is God Almighty is giving more of an explanation to what was happening there when the creation of Adam came to be. And after Satan was bashed out of heaven, God Almighty went ahead and gave him the authority to go ahead and stay, right, until resurrection day or judgment day for human beings, where Satan will also be judged, and we will all be judged essentially together. So Satan had gone ahead and told God Almighty that I'm going to go ahead and mess with all of humanity and try and steer them away, but I will not mess with your prophets. I will not mess with the ones that you have sent specifically. Chapter 38, 74, or 73, I'll start. So the angels prostrated altogether, but not Iblis, who acted arrogantly, becoming unfaithful. Allah asked, O Iblis, what prevented you from prostrating to what I created with my hands? Do you just become proud, or have you always been arrogant? He replied, I am better than he is. You created me from fire and him from clay. So remember here, in the last verse in chapter 15, we go ahead and we see that right here, indeed, we created man from clay and we created jinn from smokeless fire. And we come back here to chapter 38, and Iblis is very, very, very direct with him being better than Adam because he was created from fire and Adam was created from clay, as you can see right here. So God Almighty asked him what prevented you from prostrating, and that was Iblis' response. His ego was so strong that he just assumed he was better than Adam from a physical factor. You know, it's kind of like when you see someone and you're wearing really fancy clothes and you're rich and you pull up in a Mercedes and that guy's driving a Honda Civic and, you know, he has ripped up clothes and you're like, I'm better than him because I have more money than him, because I'm wearing nicer clothes than him, because I have a nicer car than him. This is how Iblis was thinking. This is how the devil was thinking. He refused to prostrate to Adam because he says, I'm made of fire and he's made of clay. I'm better than him. You know, it's his arrogance. This is why God Almighty said right here, what prevented you from prostrating with what I've created with my own hands? Do you just become proud, or have you always been arrogant? So God Almighty is asking, are you proud or arrogant? And Iblis goes ahead and answers him. Allah commanded, then get out of paradise, for you are truly cursed, and surely upon you is my condemnation until the day of judgment. Satan appealed, my Lord, then delay me until the day of their resurrection. Allah said, you will be delayed until the appointed day. Satan said, by your glory, I will certainly mislead them all, except the chosen servants among you. Allah concluded, the truth is, and I only say the truth, I will surely fill up hell with you and whoever follows you amongst them, all together. Say, O Prophet, I do not ask for any reward for this Quran, nor do I pretend to be someone I am not. It's only a reminder to the whole world, and will certainly know its truth for long. So, these are some of the verses that I've gone ahead and pulled just so we can understand who Iblis is, who this devil is, and what his drive is, right? His name is Iblis. This is his name, Iblis, in the Holy Quran. This is the name that he is given, right? And he is a jinn. And a jinn is an entity created from smokeless fire. And these entities have free will, okay? So we have angels who are created from light, who have no free will. They have to listen to everything God ordains. Yes, they can think for themselves, but when God tells the angel of death to go collect that soul, he goes and collects that soul. When God tells Angel Gabriel to go deliver that message, he goes and delivers that message. He can't just say, no, God, sorry. It doesn't work that way. So this is why we don't have the concept of fallen angels in Islam, because it's very, very direct on what an angel is, what a jinn is, and what a human is. A jinn is created from smokeless fire, and a jinn does indeed have free will. And the jinns are told in the Holy Quran, there's actually a whole entire chapter called the jinn, and it is directed towards them, and they are told not to actually communicate or cross over into our world. We cannot see them, they can see us, and they don't have any physicality. Like, we can feel, touch, do things of this nature, and they can't. That's why you see all these movies with possessions, and, you know, they say, like, you know, the devil's whispering in your ear, and you see, you know, those, like, the cartoons when they have a good guy on your shoulder and the bad guy on your shoulder, you have an angel and you have a devil. You know, this is exactly how the Quran fairly describes this, is there are entities that have this free will that go ahead and cause havoc. Not all jinn are bad. A lot of jinn, probably most jinn are actually very, very, very good creatures. They obey God Almighty. They stay away from humans. They live in deserts. They live in oceans. They live in areas where they are away from humanity, and they worship God Almighty, and they follow the laws ordained to them, just like human beings have laws ordained to them. And this is very, very important because we have different natures. When things have different natures, they follow different laws. They follow different rulings. You can see that within the physical world with cats and dogs and horses and giraffes. You can see how they act differently. They have different natures. They eat different things. A dog is very loyal, or a cat is really not. It'll run away and come back a month later. Or a dog won't do that. A dog will sit and stand ground and protect your home. So this is very important to understand the nature of these entities, of what a jinn is, what an angel is, and what a human is. A human is created from clay. They're in a physical body. They are not just a spirit that goes and floats around. They have a physicality. They can breathe. They can die. They can get sick, unlike these other creatures. And what ends up happening to us is we also have free will, just like those jinn have free will. And when you see these people, these famous people, or you see all of these, things, them doing rituals with pentagrams and lighting candles and doing all this stuff, why are they lighting candles? It's to summon these smokeless fired creatures. It's to summon these jinns to go ahead and perform tasks. When using a Ouija board, right? And you're moving it and it's going towards the direct letters, and it's spelling things out. When you're doing light as a feather, when you're doing all of these things and you're making this sign, this is the sign of Baphomet. Go ahead and look up Baphomet and his hand symbol, right? When you're making these symbols and you're going ahead and moving things around a board and you're lighting candles, you always see in witchcraft, they're lighting candles, lighting candles, lighting candles. What are they summoning? What are demons? What are they made out of? They're made out of fire. That is why you have to light candles. That is why you summon them in this way. This is why you stand in a circle and you summon them. It is as you are worshiping them, you are completely getting rid of the God aspect in your life. And when you don't worship God, when you're calling upon another creature for help other than God Almighty closes your heart, just like he closed the Pharaoh's heart when Moses came to him. It's the exact same thing in Islam, in Christianity, in Judaism. God Almighty closes those hearts who want to steer away from him, who seek help from other entities or other things. God will close your heart. So when you go ahead and you do these rituals and you do these things and you summon these jinn, God will walk away. God is gone. And all that's left is you and the jinn. And you can make these jinns do specific tasks, get specific information, do these things. And it's not something that is very physical to you. It's something that is whispered into your head, kind of like a keyboard, right? When I have a keyboard plugged into my computer, right, and I type something on this keyboard, I'm typing what I want to type. But if someone comes and plugs a second keyboard in and starts typing over me, the computer doesn't know the difference between me and the other keyboard. So it's going to take all of the inputs all together and it's just going to process it. That's how your brain works. Your brain is a computer. So when you have two keyboards plugged in and you allow a second keyboard to come plug itself in that you can't see and you can't really feel in the same way as your physical keyboard, then what ends up happening is your brain starts getting these motions and notions, and it starts to contradict and really flip itself, And this is very, very important, because how many times do one of you go, I'm never going to do that? And then it gets to the moment and you're like, I'm not going to do it. And then you're like, I want to do it. I'm going to do it. What? Like, it's like you're fighting with yourself in your own head. Like you're having a complete brawl match in your own mind to do something or not do something that you already don't want to do. If you don't want to do something, you've already made a conclusion to not doing it, then what is coming to fight you? What is coming to tell you, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it? There's something there, and we need to protect ourselves from these things. And this is why it's very, very important to connect to your spirit, to disconnect from the physical world, and to really, really, really dive in and establish a personal relationship with God Almighty. And Iblis is one of the highest of rankings of jinns. This is why he was in heaven. This is why he was with God Almighty. But when God Almighty went ahead and told Iblis, the star player of the game, go ahead and bow down to this new creation, Iblis was like, it's not happening. This new guy, this rookie, he's made of clay. He's not even made of fire like me. How do you want me to bow down to him? I've been worshiping you for thousands and thousands of years. I've been doing everything perfectly. You want me to bow down to this now? And that was his ego that got in the way. That was how he was in the head, is that when Iblis was told, when Lucifer was told to go ahead and bow to Adam, he didn't want to. He saw it as a disrespect. Instead of going, well, God Almighty is ordaining me to do something, and I worship God Almighty, and what is going to make me stronger is obeying God Almighty. That's what's going to grow my faith. That's what's going to grow and make me stronger than I already am. He disobeyed that. He said, no, I will not look weak. And in return, he looked weaker to God Almighty. And that's all that matters. It's not how you look to yourself when you look in a mirror. Am I strong or not? Am I this or am I that? How does God Almighty view you, right? That test that God Almighty has given you, how are you going to pass it? Are you going to pass it? What is your intention when going through it? Everyone that is watching this right now, you need to guard yourself from your ego. Your ego is the number one thing that's going to drive you into sin. It's the number one thing that's going to drive you and break you in half. And this is something that is very, very, very important to stay away from, is that ego. That ego is like the hardest thing to get over. That we have free will, and these jinns have free will, and we interact with each other if we like it or not. And we're not supposed to, but especially nowadays with everything that's going on with the music and the movies and everything, and the way that we're being brainwashed, and these keyboards are being plugged into our heads, it's getting quite scary. The way that we're scrolling through mindless content, every 3 seconds you're getting more content, more content, more content. Be very, very, very careful. Protect yourself, and don't let your ego get in the way. Just because you got a bunch of information today from TikTok doesn't mean you're a world scholar. Please be very humble. Please come down off your high horse and understand that you're a human being, that you have a lot more to learn. And even if you were the smartest human being on the planet in history, you still know nothing compared to God Almighty, and you still have trillions and billions of things that you can learn, and there's things in the future, in the past, that you will never learn. And this is something that you really need to understand, and you need to drop your ego, and you need to understand you're not better than anyone, and at any moment, any point, you can be the top worshiper of God, just like Iblis, just like Satan was. And in 1 second, you can go ahead and make the wrong decision and really show God Almighty your true intentions and turn away from him. And at that point, you will be banished away from the blessings of God Almighty, just like Iblis was. Do not let your egos get in the way. I love every single one of you. Thank you so much for coming in today. If I missed anything, go ahead and leave it down below. If you would like to add anything, go ahead and leave it down below. I know that in Judaism, they don't believe in Iblis. They don't believe in the devil at all. They don't believe in this evil entity. They believe that human beings create their own evil. In Christianity, they believe in the devil. They believe in Lucifer. They believe in him as a fallen angel. He was an angel, one of the highest ranking angels. And then he turned against God. And when he turned against God, God had banished him from the heavens, and he became a fallen angel. And in Islam, we believe in jinns, not fallen angels. Angels cannot disobey God. It's like I said before, Angel Gabriel can't just decide not to give God's message. You know, the angel of death can't just decide not to go collect someone's soul. That's not how angels work. And that is why we don't believe in fallen angels, and we are told that there's an entity called the Jinn that are created from smokeless fire that also have free will, and Iblis, or the devil, is a part of those entities, and they live amongst us on this earth, and they were created before us. And yep, thank you guys so much for coming in today. God bless every single one of you, and until next time, free Palestine, baby.